Right, so part two, because it got cut off short. So yeah, I can't be anything that other people expect me to be. Um, I can only be me, and I can only have my own integrity, my own honour. Right. So you'll have to excuse the chicks. They're in 3 separate tents, and we've got a few cockerels. So I've just ordered another 2 tents so that I can separate them more. I've got a tent here that is the chicks that are the cool, calm chicks. So yeah, it is noisy, but that's me. I am a farmer. I do breed hens. Sovereignty. What does sovereignty mean to me? Now, this is another misinterpretation. When I Google the Royal Dragon Court, it says that we think that we are our own sovereign state. We're not. For me, sovereignty is, and this is what I've had to change again. Okay, Abby's changed everything. Yes, you're bloody well right, I have. Sovereignty for me means it's a state of mind and well-being. A lot of the books that I write about are very much around trying to get away from this slavery mindset. You have to pay taxes. You have to go and work for somebody else, and when you work for them, you hardly get any money. For me, the sovereignty is all about what's within your mind. It's being able to detach yourself away from normal social constraints so that you can think critically, you can make your own mind up, so that you can have that vision of owning a farm and not being confined to, no, you can't do it. You're a woman, you can't do this. And this is something that I've found, and I'm not a feminist, okay, but this is something that I found, especially in these last couple of weeks, that we need to touch upon. And it does, I mean, there's a level of abuse there against women, overall, domestic abuse, a state of mind where men think that these sort of behaviours are okay. And I disagree with it. I really do disagree with it. It's very disheartening to see that we're in 2026 and that the mindset hasn't changed at all. From my own experience of domestic abuse, we as women, we are told that you can't do certain things. You have to be a good mother and stay at home and look after the children. You can't go out and run your own business, or or go out to work and have a high flying job, something like that. With my own experience, now I'm in 2 minds. I'm in 2 minds of whether I had been previously indoctrinated by feminism and thought that it was empowering for me to go out and work and get this high flying job, and then I'm in the other mindset that the constraints of society and what these movements, these isms have done to the family unit, what they've done is they've emancipated the man to make him feel less than. So by doing that and introducing all of the isms like feminism, which was only brought around making women go out to work so that they could pay more taxes, everything was a monetary based solution for the higher ups, whomever the higher ups were, the bankers. So I mean, if I was to go back, yes, I was a stay-at-home mum. I did create my own businesses around that. However, I feel that the constraints in society created these issues for the man that I was with, for him to feel less than, for him to feel as if he needed to get power over me. Now, whether it's narcissistic behaviours, whether it's his mental health issues, whether it's insecurities, it might be all 3. But it's not just segregated to that one person. But lately what I've seen, especially in the podcasting, the film industry, the authoring industry, everything's very male dominated. And farming, very male dominated. Actually, there's a lot more women in farming, but you just don't hear of it. That's the problem. When I first got my farm, I was told by a man, you'll never be able to do anything with it. And I'm only 4'10", single mum, don't have a man behind me. I've got my male friends, amazing male friends, and that's the difference. I'm not just pro-female, I'm definitely not a lesbian. I have male friends behind me, very, very strong morals men behind me who are there for me, and that's been part of my healing process, that I have a lot of platonic male friends, and I think that that is very, very healthy, and it's enabling me to be able to trust men again and open up my heart in future if that's something that I'm willing to do in the future. Right now it's not something that I'm working towards. I'm working towards me and creating something for myself. But I was told you'll never be able to do anything with it. And I didn't look at that as a challenge or anything. I just thought I wanted somewhere for my horses to go. And now 5 years down the road, I'm breeding hens, I have 12 goats, 2 horses. It started off as naked land, and now it's a fully functioning smallhold. So that's fantastic. When it comes to being an author, very, very male dominated, and these podcasts, you see all of these people online as if they're the experts to it, as if a woman couldn't possibly have a brain to think of these things. Or I get it when people are trying to tell me things. I'm always up for learning, but a man will come along as if you're a silly little girl, you don't know anything, or try and tell me about copyright laws when I've done a copyright law degree. So I guess for me, sovereignty and empowerment means so much more, because I am living proof of what I've been able to achieve. You know, I've done 10 books. I've done 10 books since September. I haven't gone and got a book that's in the public domain and rewritten that. What I have done is I've edited my father's books to ensure that they come under my name, Dragon Publishing, because I had to do that. The previous publisher wasn't doing what I expected them to do, and I was only getting 10%, 12% of the royalties. So say if we made £1,000, I was only going to be getting, 150 quid for all of the work that I had done. And that's not right to me. So yeah, that's where we're at. I very much promote other people and uplift other people to enable them to have their own voice and their confidence, so that they can make the best of their own world and create their own path. So we're going to go on to what else I've done. We've got a few books here. Now, as I've spoken about the issues with the Royal Dragon Court and what I've had to do to sort it out, and copyright infringements, I've had to produce work that I didn't think that I would have to produce. This is work that was within our family in the Dragon Archives. The big trunk that Princess Penelope, PP the Fourth, looks after and snoozes on. So I need to be very, very clear. This is about copyright infringement. This is not about a chivalric order. This is not about titles. This is about provenance and who came out with the framework and the specific information first, right? So I've produced this book, the Sechnaill Kings, Sechnaill Kings, comes from the 10 High Kings of Ireland, and it goes back to the to.set. Now, my own bloodline goes back to the to.set through the declares, all very much documented. And yeah, within Dad's book, he used a framework. To.set, Grail Code, Arthur, Jesus, blah, 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 blah. Right? I honour to preserve. I do not work along these lines at all. I only work along the lines that I can prove. I cannot prove a Jesus bloodline. I do not use it. Okay? So the main basis of this book is Provenance. Now, I've put 1995, the original Provenance manuscript, because the issue had become that another person back in the late 1990s worked alongside my father, and keep that up there, worked alongside my father and took the framework of it. Without my father's work, their books would not have been bestsellers, and it's an issue, right? It's an issue. It was an issue back in the 2000s because my father threatened to take this person to court, and then the other person tried to get my father done for liable, and apparently they came to an agreement outside of court where this person would go and acknowledge my father in the books. Now, what are the books that we're talking about? I've had people who've been my friend and then the mask slipped and they turned against me because I showed up a mirror to their face and they said, you go on about this too much. You need to let it lie. No, I don't. Absolutely don't need to let it lie. Because it hadn't been sorted out. And if people actually understood how it hadn't been sorted out. This is the book that we're talking about, Genesis of the Grail Kings by Lawrence Gardner. Inside this has got an acknowledgement to my father. Without his work, he is incredibly indebted to this person, and it has a foreword in it, okay? Written by my dad. That book, then, most of it became the Realm of the Ring Lords, okay? Now, after the dispute, Lawrence Gardner put an acknowledgement in it to the Royal Dragon Court. But what people don't seem to realise is that Lawrence Gardner made up his own little Royal Dragon Court. Children playing games. Somebody said that to me recently and I very much agree with them. Made up his own Royal Dragon Court, so then the attribution ended up circling back on himself. My father wasn't attributed and it killed my father inside. It hurt him severely. When you take this book and you take Dad's book, they're exactly the same. You can go through the contents pages, which we will do very quickly, and I can pinpoint certain things within these that are exactly the same. So we've got the Pict and the Druidism and the Cede, fairies, Round Table, King Arthur, Land of Elfame, Lillian the Rose, the Fountain of Youth, Tolkien's Ring, the Shining Ones, the Elves, the Dragons, Merlins, the Serpent's Ring, Robin of Greenwood, the Witch's Ring, Satan and the Yuletide Elf, that's Satan and Santa, the House of the Grail, the Curse of the Werewolf, the Twilight of the Vampire, Portal of Dracula, Beyond the Forest, Realm of the Ring Lords. Okay, so in Dad's one, we've got the New Age Critique, which I think is a very, very important chapter. Origins of Vampires, Scythians and Druids, Thousand Year Holocaust, Elven Holocaust, Transylvania to Tunbridge Wells, Dragon's Deep, Jewel in the Crown, The Cause, The Cult of Anku, The Wheel of Fate, The Rose of Sahari and The Song of Solomon, Children of the Stars, Myth or Reality, Jesus Mac Art, The the Salmon of Wisdom, the Little Nut Tree, the Rite of the Vampire, the Fontaine de Sauf, the Grail Maiden of History, Witches, Dragons, Boggarts, Goblins, Pixies, Sprites, Gnomes, the Wise, Elements of Diminution, I can't say that, the Scythians, Tomb Dwellers, Dualism and Christianity, Ladder and Lights, Hearts and Flowers, The Rose by Any Other Name, Jesus and Robin, Santa. Okay? And then in all books it has the Tree of Life. So yeah, that's been my issue. But when you read The Realm of the Ring Lords, it's disheartening for me as his daughter, because it's like reading that. When I see any of this anywhere, I know it's my dad's work. I know it's come from my dad, right? And that becomes a problem for me, because what people are doing is they are trying to cite Lawrence Gardner but misattributing the citation. If they go and cite themselves in their second book to cite their previous book and then cite Lawrence Gardner, they're completely wiping out the citation for my father. That's it's a misattribution. There's other names for it, but I'm not going to say it online. So I set up the original manuscript, and it came from, now I must say that the people that were initially involved in this boys club and what was a joke didn't take it as seriously as how far it went, and they have absolutely nothing to do with it. They hold no liability for what it became. That must be said. Absolutely no liability for what it became, and this is why I'm doing the damage control that I am. It's not only to save the ideas of my father and the copyright laws and protections surrounding my father's work, but it's also to help eradicate any blame that other people may lay on other people that were involved in what was a bit of a joke at the time. So that's all in the past. However, the future still carries and holds a lot of issues where people are misinterpreting, twisting things around, sensationalizing it to their own viewpoint. Right, so we have the Sechnaill Kings. If I try and hold that up as much as possible, it's got a date on it of 1995, copyright protected. This was put under a non-disclosure agreement for 30 years. In 2025, that non-disclosure agreement was lifted and I was able to write about it. However, somebody else got there before me. Whether the copyright licensing had been sold to this person or not, I don't know. However, anything that's within this book is not allowed to be reproduced. Where it comes to, and this book is called the Sechnaill Kings, same as the cover of the book there. And what I've done is I've basically, anything that's printed out I can't use. I've had to give a kind of a roundabout idea, because these were physical citations of where my father got the work. However, he's got his genealogical charts in there of where he's got his work from, and it's pretty much the connection between the Tuatha De Danann, the Sechnaill Kings of Ireland, the Sechnaill Kings of Ireland, Margaret Parry O'Shiel, Matthew Phipps O'Shiel, and their connection to the Kingdom of Redonda, which is a literary kingdom. It doesn't really exist. It's only exists in the minds that it matters to. It's an island that is full of bird poop that is used for gunpowder, mined for gunpowder, and that's why I say in my book it's explosive shit, because it is. Found that quite funny. Some people get it, some people don't. But basically in the beginning of it, it is the information from the autobiography of Matthew Phipps O'Shiel. That's absolutely fine. Anyone can use that. It's within the public domain. We do not own that information. However, the information that we do own is the connections between the O'Shiel family back to the O'Neills and the genealogies in the framework that my father's put it in. Genealogy is not copyright protected, okay? But for me, it's so anyone can use the genealogy. It's out there, yeah? Don't quote me on what I previously said. It's the context of the words that my dad has written in after and the flow of it. So it's, if we just remove Redonda, because Redonda's irrelevant, it's completely irrelevant. Making someone Queen of Redonda to us, it's irrelevant. And even Margaret Parry O'Shiel says in one of her newspaper articles, it's a joke, okay? So nobody actually takes it very seriously. So for anyone to take that literally and seriously now, I mean, are you okay, hun? Like, seriously, are you okay? What I take seriously is the framework of this book. So it's the Tuatha De Danann, and it's everything that my father wrote about in the Dragon Legacy and the previous books to that. Now, that's one bit of provenance. I've got another bit of provenance here from the 1990s of how the Royal Dragon Court came about. Yet again, any people that are mentioned in there, which I don't think it does name specific names, but any people that are mentioned in there are dead or have moved on and don't want anything to do with it. Okay, so that's very important. They do not hold any liability. Likewise with the original brochure, it is only for evidence, and we have a date stamp there. Okay, so anybody that's mentioned in this brochure, they don't care, don't want anything to do with it, they hold no liability on it. All right, but this is the provenance. So this is me saying this is the original work, this is the manuscript. It helps towards a nice collection. We've got a lot of people that like collector's items of what the Royal Dragon Court is, and the basis of this is so that I have that as evidence and proof. That's all it is, and it is the beginning of the story of what created the monster. So the Sechnaill Kings is out, it is available, it is published, and I have done that for copyright protection. Okay, so it is out. There's a Amazon version that is available now, and then there's going to be some other versions available, but it's just for provenance. It's just everything that's there, that was there before the Realm of the Ringlords, before Lawrence Gardner came along. It's no way to start naming people and making them anything to do with it now, because none of them are. The only person that runs the Royal Dragon Court now is me, and what I've done with it and how I've changed it is into a credible information hub of and community of people who can trace their genealogy, and we enjoy it. So that's it. That's part 2. Yeah, that's part 2 done and dusted. I hope that people get a better understanding and listen to the words from the horse's mouth rather than listening to some expert in the USA that hasn't got a clue, who can't even conform to their own 10 commandments, let alone do a little bit of research properly.